Willow's downfall, the devastating loss of custody, and the betrayal that broke her heart. The recent developments in General Hospital have painted a tragic portrait of Willow Corinthos, whose world has completely collapsed following a devastating custody loss and shocking betrayal revelations. After losing custody of her children Wiley and Amelia to Michael, discovering Drew's affair with her mother Nina, and facing the complete destruction of her support system, Willow has made the heartbreaking decision to leave Port Charles entirely. This storyline represents one of the most emotionally devastating character arcs in recent soap opera history, showcasing how personal betrayals and legal failures can drive someone to abandon everything they once held dear. The custody battle that changed everything. The custody dispute between Willow and Michael Corinthos has reached its devastating conclusion, with Michael emerging victorious through a combination of legal maneuvering and strategic planning. Recent spoilers indicate that Michael successfully obtained a court order giving him sole custody of their children until the formal hearing, effectively blocking Willow from accessing Wiley and Amelia. The court's decision was influenced by several factors that painted Willow as an unfit parent, particularly her relationship with Drew Kane and her failure to maintain proper contact with Michael during his recovery in Germany. Michael's return from Germany marked a turning point in the custody proceedings, as he came back going full force on the custody dispute. The legal battle intensified when Michael confronted Willow directly, refusing to let her see the children and establishing clear conditions for any future relationship. According to recent episodes, Michael told Willow there was only one condition for maintaining a relationship with the kids: dump Drew. This ultimatum highlighted how Michael viewed Drew as a destructive influence on both Willow and the children's well-being. The evidence against Willow mounted steadily throughout the proceedings. Critics pointed to her failure to maintain contact with Michael during his medical treatment, her multiple relocations of the children between different homes, and her public displays of affection with Drew while still wearing her wedding ring. These factors combined to create a compelling case that Willow was prioritizing her romantic relationship over her children's stability and emotional needs. The court ultimately determined that Michael presented a more stable environment for Wiley and Amelia, particularly given his established family support system and consistent approach to parenting. The devastating discovery of Drew and Nina's affair, while losing custody of her children, represented the most visible aspect of Willow's downfall. The discovery of Drew's affair with her mother Nina delivered the final, crushing blow to her already fragmented world. The revelation that Drew had been simultaneously pursuing both mother and daughter created a web of betrayal that fundamentally destroyed Willow's ability to trust anyone in her inner circle. This discovery came at a time when Willow was already emotionally vulnerable from the custody proceedings, making the impact even more devastating. The affair between Drew and Nina had been carefully concealed from Willow, with both parties knowing that the revelation would destroy their relationships with her. Nina had been particularly torn about the secret, understanding that her past with Drew created an impossible conflict of interest regarding her daughter's happiness. The timing of this revelation proved particularly cruel, as Willow learned about the betrayal just as she was facing the potential permanent loss of her children. The dual blow of losing both her romantic partner and discovering her mother's complicity in deceiving her created an emotional crisis from which Willow could not recover. The discovery process itself was equally traumatic, with Willow potentially overhearing conversations between Drew and Nina that revealed not only their physical relationship but also their ongoing deception. This method of discovery amplified the betrayal, as it demonstrated that both individuals were continuing to actively hide the truth even as Willow's world was collapsing around her. The realization that the two people she trusted most had been conspiring against her emotional well-being while she fought for her children created a sense of isolation that became unbearable. Drew's manipulation and dangerous schemes. The extent of Drew's manipulation became increasingly clear as his true character was revealed through the custody proceedings and their aftermath. Beyond his affair with Nina, Drew had been engaging in increasingly desperate and potentially criminal behavior to maintain his relationship with Willow and secure custody of the children. Spoilers suggest that Drew even considered hiring a hitman to eliminate Michael entirely, demonstrating the dangerous extremes to which his obsession had driven him. This revelation highlighted how Drew's interest in Willow was never about genuine love but rather about power and control. Drew's manipulation extended to his legal strategy, where he encouraged Willow to make questionable decisions that ultimately backfired and damaged her custody case. His advice to use Michael's medical proxy as a bargaining chip proved particularly damaging, as it reinforced perceptions of Willow as someone willing to exploit her husband's medical crisis for personal gain. This guidance demonstrated Drew's willingness to sacrifice Willow's long-term interests for short-term strategic advantages, revealing his fundamentally selfish nature. The pattern of Drew's behavior throughout the relationship showed consistent signs of emotional manipulation and control. He systematically isolated Willow from her support systems, encouraged her to make decisions that damaged other relationships, and positioned himself as her sole source of emotional support. When Willow finally understood the full scope of Drew's deception and manipulation, including his affair with Nina, she realized that their entire relationship had been built on lies and exploitation. The final break and decision to leave Port Charles. Faced with the complete destruction of her life in Port Charles, Willow made the devastating decision to break ties with both Drew and Nina permanently while preparing to leave town entirely. This decision represented more than just a relationship ending. It was a complete rejection of the life she had built and the people she had trusted. The realization that she could not salvage her relationships with either her mother or Drew, combined with her loss of custody, left her with no viable reason to remain in Port Charles. Willow's decision to leave represents a tragic acknowledgement that some betrayals are simply too fundamental to overcome. The discovery that Nina had been complicit in deceiving her while simultaneously claiming to care about her well-being destroyed any possibility of rebuilding their mother-daughter relationship. Similarly, Drew's manipulation and affair made it impossible for Willow to continue any form of relationship with him. The combination of these relationship failures with her custody loss created a perfect storm of emotional devastation. The practical implications of Willow's departure will likely be significant for other Port Charles residents. Her decision to leave town will affect not only her immediate family but also the broader community dynamics that have been shaped by her presence. The children, Wiley and Amelia, will grow up knowing that their mother chose to abandon them rather than fight for a continued relationship, creating potential psychological impacts that may affect them for years to come. Willow's storyline represents one of the most complete character destructions in recent General Hospital history, demonstrating how personal betrayals and legal failures can combine to destroy someone's entire life foundation. Her loss of custody to Michael, discovery of Drew and Nina's affair, and subsequent decision to leave Port Charles illustrate the devastating consequences when trust is fundamentally broken. The storyline serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of honest communication and the dangers of manipulation in relationships. As Willow prepares to leave Port Charles behind, viewers are left to contemplate whether redemption is possible for someone who has lost everything that once defined their identity and purpose. Next, we will delve into the heart-wrenching drama unfolding between Brook Lynn Quartermaine and her mother, Lois Trullo, in a clash that threatens to tear their family apart. This isn't just a disagreement over a minor issue, it's a full-blown battle of wills, a storm of betrayal and unspoken pain that has been simmering for far too long. What's at stake here is not just their relationship, but the very foundation of trust and love that binds a mother and daughter. With secrets about adoption, shattered promises, and raw emotional confrontations at play, let's explore the depths of this Quartermaine family crisis and the ripple effects it's having on everyone around them in Port Charles. The breaking point: a mother's betrayal and a daughter's fury. At the core of this explosive storyline is a betrayal so profound that it has sent shockwaves through Brook Lynn's life. When she discovered that her own mother, Lois, made unilateral decisions about the adoption of her child without her consent, the revelation hit like a tsunami. Imagine the searing pain of realizing that the one person who should have stood by your side, who should have respected your autonomy, went behind your back on something so personal and life-altering. Brook Lynn's anger isn't just a fleeting emotion, it's a deep, visceral rage born from a sense of violation. She trusted Lois to be her confidant, her support system, only to find out that her mother played God with one of the most painful chapters of her life. What makes this betrayal even more gut-wrenching is the context in which it happened. Brook Lynn was at her most vulnerable during the adoption process, grappling with impossible choices and overwhelming emotions. She needed her mother to be a rock, not a wrecking ball. Instead, Lois took it upon herself to steer the course, believing she was shielding her daughter from further pain. But in doing so, she stripped Brook Lynn of her voice, her agency, and her right to decide her own path. Now, as the truth unravels, Brook Lynn is left to pick up the pieces of her shattered trust, questioning whether her mother ever truly understood the gravity of her actions. A declaration of war, Brook Lynn draws a line in the sand. In a moment of raw and filtered emotion, Brook Lynn made a vow that reverberated through the halls of the Quartermaine mansion. She swore she would never repeat the mistakes her mother Madesh would not subject him, referring to Giovanni Palmieri, to the same manipulation and secrecy that she endured. This wasn't just a promise to herself, it was a battle cry, a direct challenge to Lois's parenting and a rejection of everything she stands for. Brook Lynn is essentially saying, I will be the mother you couldn't be. I will protect Giovanni with honesty, something you denied me. The weight of those words hangs heavy in the air, a bitter indictment of Lois's choices that cuts deeper than any argument ever could. This declaration marks a turning point in their relationship. For years, Brook Lynn has navigated her mother's overbearing tendencies, often bending to her will to keep the peace. But no more. The adoption secret was the final straw, the catalyst that transformed years of suppressed frustration into open warfare. Brook Lynn is no longer the compliant daughter willing to overlook her mother's flaws. She's a woman reclaiming her power, determined to break the cycle of control and deceit. And in doing so, she's forcing Lois to confront an uncomfortable truth. Her protective instincts may have done more harm than good. Giovanni's disappearance, a young heart caught in the crossfire. Amidst this mother-daughter showdown, another layer of tragedy unfolds with Giovanni Palmieri, the innocent pawn in this high-stakes conflict. Recently, Emma Scorpio Drake woke up to find Giovanni missing, sending a wave of panic through those closest to him. While some might assume he's just acting out or seeking attention, it's far more likely that this young man is overwhelmed by the weight of the secrets surrounding his life. Discovering that your very existence has been shaped by lies and hidden truths is a burden no one, let alone a teenager, should have to bear. Giovanni probably just needed space to process the whirlwind of emotions crashing over him, a moment to breathe away from the suffocating tension between Brook Lynn and Lois. But his absence only intensifies the stakes. What if Giovanni stumbled upon a conversation he wasn't meant to hear? What if he finally uncovered the unvarnished truth about his adoption, not the polished, filtered version Lois has clung to all these years? If that's the case, his disappearance isn't just a cry for help, it's a reaction to feeling like a mere chess piece in a game he never asked to play. Brook Lynn and Lois, whether they intended to or not, have dragged Giovanni into the eye of their storm, and now they must face the consequences of their actions. His return, whenever it happens, will undoubtedly force both women to confront how their war has impacted the one person they claim to protect. The wider impact, Port Charles feels the tremors. The drama between Brook Lynn and Lois isn't happening in isolation. Like a stone thrown into a still pond, the ripples of their conflict are spreading across Port Charles, touching other lives and storylines. Over at the Corinthos household, Michael Corinthos is entangled in his own battle, making urgent pleas to Sasha Gilmore regarding a heated custody dispute. Meanwhile, Curtis Ashford is sounding the alarm to Carly Spencer, cautioning her that her latest scheme might implode with catastrophic results. Yet, even with all this chaos brewing, nothing compares to the emotional detonation happening within the Quartermaine family. The raw intensity of Brook Lynn and Lois's feud overshadows every other plotline, serving as a stark reminder of how personal betrayals can eclipse even the most intricate schemes. What ties these subplots together is the theme of control or the loss of it. Just as Michael fights for influence in his custody case and Carly grapples with the fallout of her plans, Brook Lynn is wrestling to reclaim control over her own narrative from a mother who's held the reins for too long. It's a mirror reflecting the struggles of many in Port Charles, each character caught in their own web of secrets, lies, and the desperate need to protect what matters most. But for Brook Lynn, the fight feels uniquely personal, a David and Goliath struggle against the very person who should have been her greatest ally. The road ahead, can trust be rebuilt? As we look toward the future, the central question looms large: can Brook Lynn and Lois salvage their relationship after such a monumental breach of trust? When a mother oversteps in such a profound way, taking away her daughter's agency in a decision as sacred as adoption, the damage is often irreparable. Soap operas are no strangers to family feuds, but this conflict feels different, more visceral. It's not about superficial disagreements over romance or wealth. It's about the fundamental betrayal of a bond that should be unbreakable. Lois may have believed she was acting in everyone's best interest, but her good intentions have cost her something invaluable: her daughter's respect. For Brook Lynn, the path forward is fraught with uncertainty. Will she stand firm in her promise to shield Giovanni from the pain she endured, even if it means cutting ties with her mother? And for Lois, the challenge is even greater. She must face the reality that her need to control, to fix everything, has driven a wedge between her and the daughter she loves. Will she find the humility to apologize, to step back and let Brook Lynn chart her own course? Or will pride and stubbornness keep them locked in this bitter stalemate? One thing is clear: the road to reconciliation, if it exists at all, will be long and arduous, paved with painful conversations and soul-searching. A family on the brink. What's next for the Quartermaines? As we brace ourselves for the next chapters of this saga, the Quartermaine family stands on the edge of an emotional abyss. Giovanni's whereabouts remain a pressing concern. Will he return ready to face the truth, or will his absence prolong the agony for Brook Lynn and Lois? And when the inevitable confrontation comes, will Brook Lynn hold fast to her vow to parent differently, to prioritize honesty over secrecy? Most critically, will Lois awaken to the devastation her actions have caused, or will she dig in her heels, further fracturing their bond? Fans, prepare yourselves for a roller coaster of emotions as this mother-daughter war escalates to unprecedented heights. With adoption secrets laid bare, promises broken, and trust hanging by a thread, we're witnessing a family implode in real time. The fallout promises to be nothing short of catastrophic, with casualties that extend far beyond Brook Lynn and Lois. Next, we will uncover the emotional earthquake rocking Port Charles as Brook Lynn Quartermaine, portrayed by the exceptionally talented Amanda Setton, grapples with a life-altering revelation about her son, Joe Palmieri. This storyline has not only captivated fans with its raw intensity but has also showcased Setton's remarkable acting prowess, potentially earning her a well-deserved Emmy nod. From the gut-wrenching discovery of hidden truths to the powerful confrontations that follow, let's dive deep into the heart of this dramatic arc, exploring the layers of betrayal, heartbreak, and resilience that define Brook Lynn's journey. A shocking truth unveiled: Brook Lynn's world shattered. The foundation of Brook Lynn Quartermaine's life crumbled when she unearthed a secret so staggering it redefined everything she thought she knew. As a teenager, Brook Lynn had a son, Joe, with Dante Falconeri. A chapter of her past she believed was closed after giving him up for adoption. She had clung to the comforting illusion that Joe was thriving with a loving family, far from the chaos of Port Charles. But the reality was far more devastating. Her own mother, Lois Trullo, had kept Joe hidden in plain sight, right under Brook Lynn's nose at the Quartermaine mansion. This wasn't just a lie. It was a betrayal of unimaginable proportions, a deception that spanned over 2 decades, meticulously orchestrated by the one person Brook Lynn trusted most. The moment of revelation was nothing short of cataclysmic. The truth didn't come gently. It exploded into Brook Lynn's life during a charged encounter at the nurses' ball, thanks to the meddling curiosity of Lulu Spencer. Lulu, with her knack for sniffing out secrets, confronted Lois in a heated exchange that laid bare the hidden reality of Joe's identity. The dressing room where this argument unfolded became a battlefield of whispered accusations and stunned silences, a space where Brook Lynn's past and present collided with devastating force. The emotional toll of learning that the young man she'd shared countless moments with was her own flesh and blood left her reeling, grappling with a mix of maternal longing and profound hurt over the years stolen from her. Joe's reaction: a young man caught in the storm. As if the revelation itself wasn't shattering enough, Joe himself overheard the fiery clash between Lois and Lulu, absorbing the weight of a truth he was never meant to uncover so abruptly. His reaction sent tremors through Port Charles, as the young man struggled to process the enormity of his origins. Imagine the confusion and pain of discovering that your life, as you knew it, was built on a foundation of lease not just from strangers, but from the very family surrounding you. Joe's world tilted on its axis, leaving him to question his place in the Quartermaine household and the intentions of those he trusted. His response wasn't just a quiet retreat into introspection, it manifested as a visible fracture in the family dynamic. Witnesses described seeing Joe storm out of the nurses' ball, his face a mask of anguish and disbelief, as he wrestled with feelings of betrayal and identity. Perhaps he felt like a secret kept for someone else's convenience, a pawn in a game of hidden agendas. This moment of crisis for Jo added another layer of complexity to Brook Lynn's turmoil, as she now faced not only her mother's deception but also the urgent need to connect with a son who might not be ready to accept her as his mother. The ripple effects of this overheard argument promised to linger, shaping Jo's relationships and his sense of self for episodes to come. Amanda Setton's stellar performance, bringing Brook Lynn to life. Amanda Setton's portrayal of Brook Lynn during this pivotal storyline has been nothing short of mesmerizing, earning her widespread acclaim from fans and critics alike. In an interview with Soap Opera Digest, Setton revealed her deep commitment to doing justice to Brook Lynn's character, ensuring that every tear, every outburst, and every moment of silent agony resonated with authenticity. She understood the importance of delivering a climactic moment that would sear itself into the audience's memory, capturing the essence of a woman whose very identity had been upended by her mother's actions. Setton's preparation for these intense scenes was meticulous, reflecting her dedication to her craft. She dove into the emotional reservoir of Brook Lynn's pain, channeling the confusion and rage of a mother who had been denied the chance to know her child for 22 years. Opposite Rena Sofer, who plays Lois, Setton's performance was a masterclass in emotional depth, each glance and heated word laden with the weight of unspoken history. Viewers couldn't help but feel Brook Lynn's heartbreak as she stood in the Quartermaine mansion, realizing that the young man she'd laughed with and confided in was her own son, a stranger she'd been robbed of loving. Setton owned every frame, transforming a soap opera storyline into a profound exploration of maternal loss and betrayal. Overcoming physical challenges, Setton's resilience shines. The challenges Setton faced while filming these emotionally charged scenes extended beyond the psychological demands of the role. Astonishingly, she lost her voice during the grueling shoot, a physical setback that came after weeks of long, exhausting days, including 3 intense days of filming The Nurse's Ball. Setton shared that she wasn't ill or overly stressed, yet her body rebelled against diving into such raw, vulnerable territory. As a mother herself, she admitted to an instinctive resistance to exploring these painful themes, her subconscious perhaps shielding her from the depths of Brook Lynn's anguish. Yet, in a twist of fate, Setton turned this obstacle into a powerful asset. She described the loss of her voice as a blessing in disguise, aligning perfectly with Brook Lynn's emotional state. She was empty, she was raw, Setton reflected, noting how the hoarseness added a layer of realism to her portrayal of a woman who had nothing left to give after such a devastating blow. Her determination to push through, to fight for every line and emotion, resulted in some of the most memorable work of her career. Fans watched in awe as Setton powered through, delivering a performance that felt less like acting and more like a window into a shattered soul, proving her mettle as one of General Hospital's finest talents. Confronting the past, Brook Lynn and Dante's heart-wrenching reunion. The fallout from the revelation didn't stop with Lois, it extended to Dante Falconeri, Gio's father, and a conversation Brook Lynn had dreaded for over 2 decades. When she finally faced Dante to confess the truth about their son, the scene was a poignant tapestry of regret, fear, and lingering pain. Brook Lynn bared her soul, admitting how terrified she had been as a teenager, how she couldn't bring herself to tell Dante about the pregnancy and adoption. Each word was laced with the weight of years of guilt, a burden she'd carried alone until this moment of reckoning. Setton's performance in this exchange left fans breathless, capturing the sheer trauma both characters endured as they confronted a shared past they could never reclaim. Dante, too, grappled with the shock of learning he had a son, a boy he'd never known existed, now living just beyond his reach. Their dialogue wasn't just a plot point, it was a cathartic release of emotions too long suppressed, a moment where two wounded souls sought understanding amidst the wreckage of their youth. Brook Lynn's vulnerability, paired with Dante's quiet devastation, painted a picture of loss so tangible that it resonated with anyone who's ever faced an impossible choice. The path forward, a family fractured. As the dust begins to settle from this seismic reveal, Brook Lynn's relationship with her mother hangs by a fragile thread. In the heat of her anger, she disowned Lois, a declaration that echoed with finality through the Quartermaine estate. The question now is whether this rift can ever be mended. Lois's actions, though perhaps driven by a misguided desire to protect, have severed a sacred trust, leaving Brook Lynn to navigate a future where her mother's love feels tainted by deception. Will Lois find a way to atone, or has this betrayal created a chasm too wide to bridge? Meanwhile, Brook Lynn's connection with Joe looms as an uncertain horizon. How will she approach a son who may not be ready to embrace her as his mother? And what of Dante, whose own journey as a father has just begun under the most heartbreaking circumstances? The emotional landscape of Port Charles is irrevocably altered, with every interaction now colored by the shadow of this secret. Amanda Setton's portrayal ensures that we feel every step of Brook Lynn's struggle, from the initial shock to the aching need for reconciliation and understanding. A story for the ages. What lies ahead? GH fans, brace yourselves for the next chapters of this unforgettable storyline. Will Brook Lynn find the strength to forge a bond with Joe despite the years lost? Can she and Dante heal from the scars of their past decisions? And most critically, will Lois face the consequences of her actions with humility, or will pride deepen the divide in this fractured family? With Amanda Setton delivering the performance of a lifetime, we're in for a roller coaster of emotions as betrayal, longing, and the search for redemption take center stage. Stay tuned as the Quartermaine saga unfolds, promising more tears, twists, and triumphs in the days ahead.